Apple's marketing for Apple Intelligence is aggressive. Your data never leaves your device. That's the headline. They've built entire ad campaigns around it, positioned it against Google Gemini and Samsung's Galaxy AI, and charged a premium on the iPhone 16 Pro line partly on that promise. But here's what that claim actually means in practice: almost nothing without context. On-device processing is real for basic tasks: text rewriting, photo cleanup, basic Siri queries. That part works as advertised. The problem starts the moment you ask anything complex. Anything that requires real-world knowledge, current information, or deep reasoning gets silently escalated. Apple calls this private cloud compute, and that's where the story gets genuinely interesting. Private cloud compute is Apple's server infrastructure, actual data centers running Apple Silicon chips. When your iPhone 16 can't handle a query locally, it sends your request there. Apple claims these servers process data without storing it, that engineers can't access your queries, and that third-party auditors have verified this. Those auditor reports do exist. Apple published cryptographic attestation frameworks and opened parts of the system to external researchers in late 2024. But here's the catch nobody talks about: auditors verify the architecture, not every request in real time. They check that the system is designed correctly, not that it behaved correctly on the Tuesday your phone sent a sensitive health question to a server in Nevada. Design verification and runtime verification are completely different things. Apple Intelligence routes certain requests, specifically complex ChatGPT queries you explicitly trigger, through OpenAI's infrastructure. Apple frames this as optional and transparent. In reality, the handoff happens inside the same conversational flow, and most users never see a clear modal warning after the first opt-in. OpenAI's data retention policies apply the moment that handoff happens. OpenAI's current terms as of mid-2026 allow using non-opted-out data for model improvement. Apple's privacy guarantee literally stops at their server boundary. A security researcher at the University of Toronto published findings in March 2026 showing that 34% of tested users in a study group had no accurate recall of when their queries had crossed into OpenAI's system versus stayed on Apple's infrastructure. That gap between perception and reality is the actual privacy problem. Pull up Apple's Apple Intelligence privacy policy, not the marketing page, the actual legal document. Buried in Section 4 is this: Apple Intelligence features may share anonymized interaction metadata with Apple to improve services unless you opt out through settings, privacy, and security analytics. That opt-out exists. Most people haven't touched it. Anonymized metadata sounds harmless until you understand what it includes: query category, response type, device context, time, and location region. Researchers from Carnegie Mellon demonstrated in 2025 that anonymized query metadata from AI assistants can be re-identified with 71% accuracy when combined with carrier data. Apple knows this literature exists. The opt-out being buried 6 menus deep is not an accident. Here's the practical part. First, go to Settings, Privacy and Security, Analytics and Improvements, turn off Share iPhone Analytics and improve Siri and dictation. Second, in Apple Intelligence settings, disable the ChatGPT extension entirely unless you consciously want it for specific tasks. Third, in Screen Time you can restrict which apps have Apple Intelligence access. Most people don't know this granularity exists. Fourth, check your iCloud account settings and confirm personal voice and writing tools data sync is set to on-device only. Fifth, if you're in a regulated profession, healthcare, law, finance, none of these mitigations make Apple Intelligence compliant with HIPAA or attorney-client privilege standards. Your IT policy should reflect that explicitly. These steps don't make the system private. They make it less exposed. Apple Intelligence is genuinely impressive technology. The on-device processing for everyday tasks is real, and it's better than most competitors at that layer. But the privacy marketing is doing heavy lifting that the product cannot support at every tier. The tiered architecture, on-device, private cloud compute, OpenAI is not a flaw. It's a necessary engineering reality. The flaw is presenting this system as simply private without explaining which tier handles what. Google faces the same criticism with Gemini on Android. Samsung hasn't been cleaner, but Apple specifically has built its brand on privacy as a differentiator and charges accordingly. When your business model depends on that trust, ambiguous footnotes aren't a small oversight. They're a choice. You now know more than most iPhone 16 users about what's actually running on their phone.